The millionaire stepped outside his mansion for a quiet morning call, but within seconds, sirens screamed and two cops stormed his driveway like he was a criminal. Before he could speak, they shoved him against his own car, yelling, "Hands where we can see them." Neighbors watched as the officers accused him of trespassing at the house he built. Humiliated but calm, he raised his eyes and delivered 5 words that froze both cops in place. "Call your chief. Right now. Drop your city or country in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you stand for justice over power, like and subscribe." Marcus Ellington wasn't just any homeowner on the block, he was the quiet backbone of the entire community. A 46-year-old black tech millionaire, respected for his philanthropy and calm leadership, he preferred mornings simple and peaceful. Most days began the same way: a fresh cup of coffee, a slow walk down his marble steps, and a quick call with his charity team about the youth scholarship program he funded. But not everyone in his upscale neighborhood appreciated him. Some older HOA members whispered behind closed doors, questioning how a black man owned the largest home on the street. They never said it openly, they didn't need to. Their stares were enough. Marcus ignored it, choosing dignity over confrontation. This morning felt normal. Birds, sunlight, and the quiet hum of sprinklers across manicured lawns. Marcus leaned against his luxury SUV, talking softly on his phone, reviewing plans for an upcoming community fundraiser. Then, a strange tension formed. 2 police cruisers turned onto the street, slowly. Too slowly. Their eyes locked on Marcus as if he didn't belong. The engines idled for a moment before both cars rolled to a stop directly in front of his driveway. Marcus sighed, sensing trouble but hoping reason would prevail. Instead, the officers jumped out aggressively, hands already on their holsters. "Hey! Step away from that vehicle," one barked. Marcus froze, confused. "That's my car," he said calmly. The cops exchanged a look, the kind that told Marcus they had already decided he was guilty of something. The officers didn't bother asking questions, they moved in like they were responding to an active crime scene. One circled Marcus's SUV, shining a flashlight into the windows even though it was broad daylight. The other stepped right into Marcus's personal space, jaw tight, eyes filled with suspicion. "You live here?" he demanded. "Yes," Marcus replied calmly. "This is my home." The officer snorted. "We got a call about someone lurking around this property. You match the description of a burglary suspect." Marcus blinked slowly. "I'm standing in my driveway, talking on the phone." "That's not what the caller said," the second officer snapped. The first officer placed a hand on Marcus's arm, firm, unnecessary, warning him not to move. "ID, now. My wallet is inside." "I can." "No," the officer cut him off. "You're not going anywhere." Neighbors had begun peeking through blinds, some even stepping outside, pretending to check their mail just to watch the confrontation unfold. Marcus stayed still, jaw clenched, heartbeat tightening his chest. This wasn't misunderstanding. This wasn't caution. This was profiling wrapped in authority. And when one officer muttered, "We can do this the hard way," Marcus knew things were about to turn brutal. The moment the officer tightened his grip, everything around Marcus seemed to sharpen: the crunch of gravel under boots, the clicking radios, the low murmurs from neighbors who suddenly had nowhere else to be. "Turn around. Hands behind your back," the taller officer barked, already reaching for his cuffs. "For what?" Marcus asked, still calm but firm. "You're resisting," the officer snapped. "I'm standing still," Marcus replied. The officer's lip curled. "Don't get smart." They grabbed his wrist harder this time, twisting it just enough to make him wince. Marcus inhaled sharply but didn't break. He knew exactly what this was: humiliation by design. A show of power for anyone watching. One neighbor, an older white man, whispered to his wife, "I knew something was off about him." Another filmed from her porch, whispering, "This doesn't look right." Marcus lifted his head. "I'd like a supervisor," he said, voice steady. The officer laughed. Actually laughed. No. You don't give orders here. The second officer stepped closer. Where's your ID? Last chance. It's inside my home, Marcus repeated. I can walk in. Nice try, the officer cut him off. Burglars say that all the time. Marcus felt his patience thinning. You're making a serious mistake. The taller officer leaned in until Marcus could smell the coffee on his breath. You people always say that. Those 3 words sliced deeper than the grip on his wrist. Neighbors heard it. A few gasped. One woman whispered, "Oh, no." The officers pushed Marcus against his own SUV, arms spread, treating him like a violent suspect. The cold metal stung his cheek as they began patting him down aggressively, searching for something, anything, to justify their behavior. Nothing on him, one muttered, annoyed. Check again, the other hissed. Marcus closed his eyes for one steady breath. He wasn't scared. He wasn't defeated. He was done being polite. And as the officers bickered behind him, Marcus slowly raised his head, a quiet storm building behind his eyes. They had crossed a line. And now, he was about to show them exactly who they were dealing with. Marcus exhaled slowly, letting the chaos swirl around him, the officers arguing, the neighbors whispering, the humiliation burning on his skin. Then, with deliberate calm, he spoke. I'm making a phone call. The taller officer scoffed. No, you're not. But Marcus had already lifted his phone from the ground where it had fallen earlier. He tapped a single contact, the one few people ever needed, but everyone in law enforcement feared. When the line picked up, Marcus said only one chilling sentence. Tell Internal Affairs your officers are here again. Silence. Both cops froze. The neighbors froze. Even the breeze seemed to pause. The shorter officer's voice cracked. Internal Affairs? What do you mean again? Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. Within minutes, 3 unmarked black SUVs rolled onto the street. Their doors swung open in perfect sync, and out stepped high-ranking officials, stern faces, crisp suits, badges glinting in the sunlight. The police commissioner himself marched forward. Both officers went pale. Ellington, the commissioner said, voice strained with respect. What happened? Marcus straightened his jacket. Your men detained me on my property. Again. No cause. No ID check allowed. And your officer used a racial slur. The commissioner's jaw tightened so hard a vein bulged on his neck. Where are their body cams? He demanded. Both officers fumbled, suddenly aware of the crowd forming behind them. The commissioner didn't wait for excuses. Hand them over. Now. He turned to Marcus. Sir, I apologize. This will be handled immediately. The officers looked like their world was collapsing. One whispered, Sir, we thought. You thought wrong, the commissioner snapped. Mr. Ellington is a major contributor to our community oversight program. He personally helped write the accountability reforms you're violating. Whispers rippled through the neighborhood. The man they had doubted was one of the most influential figures in the entire county. Marcus stood quietly as the commissioner signaled for Internal Affairs to begin a full on-site investigation. The officers realized there was no escape. Their careers weren't in danger. They were already over. The driveway, the same place where Marcus had been shoved and humiliated minutes ago, suddenly transformed into a command center. Internal Affairs investigators stepped in with tablets, microphones, and evidence bags. Neighbors crowded closer, no longer pretending to check their mail. They wanted to witness justice. The commissioner's voice cut through the air like a blade. Officers, stand over there. Do not speak unless spoken to. Both cops shuffled to the side, trembling, eyes darting between Marcus and the growing audience. An IA investigator pressed play on the first officer's body cam. The footage was brutal, the aggressive tone, the shove, the racial comment, the refusal to let Marcus get his ID. Gasps echoed from the onlookers. A woman covered her mouth. "That's disgusting," someone whispered. The second bodycam told the same story, but worse. It showed the officers circling Marcus like a threat, mocking him, ignoring his calm explanations. Any claim of probable cause evaporated in front of everyone. The commissioner's face darkened with every passing second. "Do you have anything to say for yourselves?" he asked coldly. The taller officer stuttered, "We got a call. We thought he was." "That's not what the caller said," an IA agent interrupted. "They reported a man standing near a vehicle for an unusually long time. That's it. No threat. No burglary. No description matching Mr. Ellington." The officer swallowed hard. We didn't know who he was." Marcus finally spoke. "You didn't need to know who I was. You just needed to treat me like a human being." The street fell silent. The commissioner turned to Marcus. "Sir, I am deeply sorry. On behalf of this department, I take full responsibility." He faced the officers again. "Effective immediately, you are both suspended. Internal Affairs will recommend termination." The shorter officer broke down, whispering, "No, no, please." But no one stepped forward to defend them. Not the neighbors. Not the officials. Not even each other. The commissioner addressed the watching crowd. "This is what accountability looks like. No one is above the law, not even the ones enforcing it." Marcus took a quiet breath, the first peaceful breath since the officers arrived. For the first time, the power dynamic flipped completely. The officers stood exposed, powerless, while Marcus stood tall in front of his own home, dignity restored. Justice wasn't just served. It was witnessed. 2 days later, the department released its official statement. Both officers were terminated for racial profiling, excessive force, and abuse of authority. The news spread fast. Local TV crews showed up, neighbors whispered apologies, and the HOA quietly erased every anonymous complaint ever filed against Marcus. But Marcus didn't celebrate. He simply walked down his driveway, the same place where they tried to strip his dignity, and looked around his quiet neighborhood with a steady, grounded calm. He met the commissioner again that week, not to gloat, but to finalize a new community protection policy, mandatory de-escalation training and bias reviews for every officer in the district. One neighbor approached him nervously. "Marcus, we were wrong about you." He smiled gently. "I know." As he stepped back into his home, sunlight touching his shoulders, the message was clear. Power had fallen. Truth had won. Justice spoke loud.